Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be recommending you books based on your MBTI. Now if you don't know what that is, there's this really popular personality test called the 16 personalities, and even on the website they said that this is supposed to be freakishly accurate to what your personality is. So yeah, I love personality tests. I think they're very interesting, and if you want to do your 16 personalities quiz before watching this video, please feel free to pop to the description down below. I've got a link in there so you can jump away and go do that test and then come back and enjoy this video. This particular video was inspired by a little bit of Monica. She did the same thing but with films, and she makes really beautiful videos. Just the production quality she has, the content she makes is stunning. She's also an absolute sweetheart, so please go follow Monica. She makes amazing things. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it, and here are my book recommendations based on your MBTI. Okay, so the very first one is INTJ, which is the architect. These people are strategic planners, they're critical thinkers, they have a plan for everything, and they're very imaginative. Now for this particular personality type, I immediately thought of Coraline by Neil Gaiman. Coraline is a middle grade story. It's very gothic, it's very creepy, it's perfect to read around Halloween. She finds a doorway in her flat which leads to this other world where she meets her other mother, who's this terrifying demon woman with like buttons for eyes, and it's this whole other creepy world. There's a talking cat. It's just absolutely wonderful. It's one of my favorite stories. But the reason why this suits the architect is because Coraline herself is so strategic and imaginative. She comes up with these brilliant plans to get herself out of this world and out of this like particular situation, and she just is very good at critical thinking and devising a way to save herself. The second one is INTP, or the logician. Now these people are innovative inventors with an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, and the book that I think suits that personality type is Ghost Empire by Richard Fidler. This is a book I listened to recently, and if you like watch my channel a lot, or if you're following me on Instagram, you will have seen me absolutely not shutting up about this book. The book is about the history of Constantinople. Constantinople was this like amazing hub in the Byzantine Empire where lots and lots of things like got invented, and it was just like incredibly influential, and it's not something at least I knew very much about before reading this particular book. For example, the fork was invented in Byzantium in like I think the 4th century. But yeah, Ghost Empire is a non-fiction book which is based on the history of Constantinople, which is now called Istanbul. I think this is perfect for the logician personality type because having an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, this book taught me so much about the world and about Constantinople and Istanbul, and I think people who really want to learn things are going to really enjoy this book. Number 3 is ENTJ, or the commander. This personality type has people who are really strong-willed leaders. They're bold and imaginative and will always find a way to achieve their goals and get done what they need to get done. Now this personality type I think is really going to identify with Sunja from Pachinko. Pachinko is the story effectively of Sunja and her life. It starts off in Korea in like the early 1900s during the time of the Japanese occupation of Korea, and then it follows her life as she gets pregnant. She marries a Christian pastor who is not the father, and then she journeys to Japan during a time where this was incredibly hostile for Korean people to live in Japan. The resilience and the hard work and the work ethic of Sunja, the leadership she shows is just amazing throughout the story, especially being a young woman without an education in a foreign land, where she has these constant hurdles that she has to overcome in her life. So yeah, I think anyone who's going to identify with a bold, strong-willed leader is going to really like Sunja and is going to really enjoy this book. She's a leader within her family and within like the parameters of her circumstances, and just this is a stunning book, and I recommend it to everyone, but also especially to everyone in the commander personality type. Number 4 is the debater, which is ENTP. This personality type has smart and curious thinkers who cannot resist an intellectual challenge. For this personality type, I recommend Educated by Tara Westover. This is another book that, again, if you watch my channel a lot, you're probably sick of me recommending to people, but like seriously, please read this book. This is another non-fiction book. It's an autobiography, and it follows the life of Tara. She's born into a family of really devout Christian Mormons. They think that the ends of days are coming, they're preparing for Armageddon. Most important things they do is that they don't allow their children to go to school, or at least they didn't allow Tara to go to school. This is a story about how Tara claws an education for herself. Despite never getting the opportunity to go to high school, she ends up graduating from a really prestigious university, and through her education manages to pull herself out of this really quite abusive family situation that she's grown up in, that she thought was normal but has learned is not, through gaining her education. So yeah, anyone who's a curious thinker, who really values an education, who thinks it's important to learn, you're going to really enjoy this book, because it's about the quest to find an education and to learn things and to understand the world, and to change your perspectives despite what you learned when you were a child. Okay, number 5 is the Advocate, or INFJ, and this is my personality type. Now, because it's my personality type, I had a lot of trouble picking a book for this one. Like, I really wanted to pick House Moving Castle just based on the principle of the matter. The Advocate personality type are quiet and mystical, yet very inspiring and tireless idealists. So yeah, I really, interestingly, quite struggled with this one, because I was like, I could just give you all of my favorite books, but ended up choosing Charmed Life by Diana Wynne Jones. So the main character of this book is Cat. His parents die in a boat accident when he's quite young, and he survives because he clings on to his sister Gwendolyn. She is a witch, so witches can't drown, and therefore they survive. And then eventually they go to live with Crestomanci in his extravagant house. He is a very extravagant wizard. I picked this book. It's a beautiful, brilliant book, amazing world building and brilliant magic system, and just excellent in general. But picked this book because Cat is a tireless idealist. It's really hard to say. Tireless idealist. He sort of lived his whole life in the shadow of his sister Gwendolyn, who's a very talented witch. She's a force for nature. She's very strong-willed, and so Cat has sort of like taken the back seat. Being magicless, he doesn't know very much about this world that he's stepping into, and he's like really quite a sweet kid, and I really like his character. But yeah, he's very quiet, he's a tireless idealist, and he's like sort of perfect for this personality type. Number 6 is the Mediator, INFP. This one is poetic, kind, altruistic people, always eager to help a good cause, and honestly, there's no book I could choose aside from Anne of Green Gables. Like that, this personality type just screams Anne. It's about a young girl named Anne, and her parents die when she's very young. She ends up living in an orphanage. She has a very sad childhood until she is fostered or adopted by Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert, and she comes and lives at Green Gables, which is this idyllic and pastoral farm. I think she is the perfect book for people who are in this particular personality type, because I just think they're going to identify with Anne so strongly. Yeah, because she is so incredibly poetic. Yes, she's very altruistic, and she is probably the character who is the most likely to want to help a good cause out of any book I've ever read. Number 7 is the protagonist, which is ENFJ. This is the personality type that I am almost. So when I did this personality test, I was 51% introvert and 49% extrovert. So I'm in the middle of pretty much INFJ and ENFJ. So yeah, just in case you wanted that background context, these people are charismatic and inspiring leaders, able to mesmerize their listeners, which immediately reminded me of The Name of the Wind, which is a book I just finished. This is an adult fantasy book written by Patrick Rothfuss. It follows the life of Quoth every damn time. The story is about him and his life. I've described this book before as feeling like fantasy Great Expectations. But yes, this is essentially a story about Kvothe, who is this really powerful wizard. He's had these amazing life experiences. He's done all of this like remarkable things. He is like hiding from the world, and he's telling a scribe his story. So we start off the story with him in this inn. He's an adult, and then he goes back and recounts his tale and his like time at like the magical university and like all of this like amazing stuff that he did. So pretty much this whole story is him telling the story of his own life, which made me think definitely the protagonist, definitely a person who can captivate their listeners. Number 8 is ENFP, the campaigner. Now this personality type is enthusiastic, creative, and sociable free spirits who can always find a reason to smile. This is very much the girl who circumnavigated fairyland in a ship of her own making. The most delightfully whimsical book you'll probably ever read. It is about a young girl named September who gets spirited away to fairyland. Beautiful kids book. It's so colorful and bright. It's kind of like an amazing like fever dream of like fantastical fairy tale settings, and it's just so very good. But yeah, sociable, creative, free spirits, that very much speaks to September and who she is. She's very imaginative, she's very creative, and yeah, she goes through a whole quest. So I think the campaigner personality type is really gonna like September's character and is gonna really like this book. Number 9 is ISTJ, the logistician, which sounds very similar to logician but is not the same thing. And these are practical and fact-minded individuals whose reliability cannot be doubted. This is another one where I was like, maybe I should recommend a really good like non-fiction book, but I wanted to recommend fiction for this one, and the book I want to recommend is Atonement. Now, this is a book that's fundamentally about reliability, about the reliability of the narrator, about the reliability of one of the central characters. But yeah, the plot of this story, it's set just before World War II, and it is effectively like a World War II story, but it begins with the young character Bryony, and she sees something happening and she thinks she understands it, but she doesn't. And a crime is committed. She goes and tells a lie, which she doesn't realize at the time is a lie. The thing that she says has these horrible, dire consequences. But yeah, if you're the logistician personality type and you care very much about the facts, about things being correct, about reliability of people, of storytellers and that kind of stuff, I think you're really, really going to enjoy Atonement. Okay, number 10 is ISFJ, which is the defender. For this personality type, it is people who are very dedicated and warm protectors, always ready to defend their loved ones. And now I immediately think of Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games when I think of this personality type. I know this is like the OG like YA book about a 16-year-old girl named Katniss Everdeen, and she is living in this dystopian society. All of the children have to fight to the death. It's a battle royale. The main character, Katniss, her 12-year-old baby sister is picked to have to fight to the death, and Katniss ventures forward and throws herself in front of the podium and says, I will volunteer in her place. And so Katniss is this amazing, fearless protector of her little sister, and eventually of many more people as the stories and books go on. She learns about leadership and what's important throughout the books, and she continues to protect always the people that she loves. And yes, if you're the defender personality type, I think you'll really enjoy Katniss's character. Number 11 is the executive, or ESTJ. People from this personality type are excellent administrators, unsurpassed at managing things or people. Where is it? There's always one. There's always a book that I forget to grab. Oh, how could it be House Moving Castle? Anyway, the book I'm recommending for this personality type is House Moving Castle. Sophie, the main character in this book, does so much people management of Hal, it's absolutely hilarious. It's my favorite difference between the book and the movie. So if you're not familiar with House Moving Castle, this is one of my favorite books of all time. I love this book so much. It is about a young woman named Sophie Hatter, and she, in the book, accidentally upsets the Wicked Witch of the Waste, who then puts a curse on her. Like, young Sophie is then turned into like an old woman, and she ends up like wandering off into the wastes, where she meets Hal, who has a moving castle. He's a very flamboyant, charismatic, self-indulgent wizard, and she ends up becoming like the cleaning lady to this castle. But yes, when I think of excellent administrators, when I think of people who are good at managing other people, I think of Sophie Hatter and how much wrangling she had to do with Hal to get him to become a better person. And if you, being this personality type, are very much into people management, like fixing things and administrating things and making sure things are working the right way, I think you're going to really identify with Sophie's personality. Number 12 is ESFJ, or Console. This personality type is people who are extraordinarily caring, social, and popular people who are always eager to help. This is a wonderful personality type, but I really struggled to find characters who fit all of these parameters. I ended up going with Mythos by Stephen King. This is an excellent retelling of the Greek myths. It's very in-depth, it's very lengthy, it covers a lot of ground, and it's also brilliant for people who don't have a history in studying or reading mythology. Now, the reason I picked this for the Console personality type is because the gods care tremendously about people. If you look at a god like Prometheus, he gave humans fire because he wanted humans to be able to defend themselves. And in caring this much for human beings, he ended up being like smited by Zeus, where he's doomed forever and ever to have an eagle like eat his liver every single day. The liver regenerates, and he's just doomed to have that torture happen all the time. The gods are so incredibly interesting. They are very involved in human beings' lives. They do care about people. They're very social, and they're very much integrated with human society. Number 13 is ISTP, or the virtuoso personality type. People in this personality type are bold and practical experimenters, masters of all kinds of tools. Now this immediately makes me think of Violet from A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. It's about 3 young orphans whose parents perish in a terrible fire. Whimsical but more gothic world, like it's quite a sinister world. They go to live with Count Olaf, who is like barely related to them, who effectively just wants their money. And the kids go and live with him, and then they soon realize how sinister and dangerous he is. Eldest of the 3 children, Violet, is an inventor, and every time she ties up her hair in a ribbon, you know that she's like working away on an invention. She loves reading books about like mechanical engineering and stuff like this. She's very resourceful. She's very critical in the way she thinks, and like her whole shtick is that she is an inventor. And so yeah, Violet is very much a bold and practical experimenter. She masters all kinds of tools. She invents things from nothing. For the virtuoso personality type, I would definitely recommend A Series of Unfortunate Events. Number 14 is adventurer, or ISFP. This personality type are people who are flexible and charming artists, always ready to explore and experience something new. For this one, I want to recommend Nights at the Circus by Angela Carter. For those of you who watch a lot of my videos, you know that I am obsessed with Angela Carter. This is a book that she wrote about the circus and about a woman named Feathers. She's like this cockney, brusque, confident young woman. She's really interesting and cool character, and she has these massive wings that grow out of her back. Because of that, she is a member of the circus, and she's an aerialist. And yeah, the story explores her life and how she got to where she is, these like amazing and wonderful experiences and sometimes very scary experiences that she had. Absolutely an adventurer type of person. And yeah, she's very flexible, she's very charming, she's so outgoing, just this bold, wonderful, interesting person. And yeah, if you're an adventurer, you want to read something new and interesting and a bit different, then I definitely recommend Nights at the Circus by Angela Carter. Number 15 is ESTP, or the entrepreneur. This particular personality type includes people who are smart, energetic, and very perceptive, who truly enjoy living on the edge. This immediately makes me think of Kaz Brekker from Six of Crows, and it's effectively like heist story meets fantasy. And Kaz Brekker is the leader of 6 of these people, hence Six of Crows, who are about to go on this heist adventure. Kaz is like a baby mob boss. He's very, very angsty. I don't think Kaz Brekker is an extrovert, just personally, like I don't think he is. But I think he's very much this entrepreneurial personality. He came from nothing and he built up his little empire brick by brick. He uses this phrase a lot. And yeah, just an excellent, really, really fun story. I think if you're in the entrepreneur personality type, you're really gonna like him and you're really gonna like this book. Okay, lucky last one, number 16 is the entertainer, or ESFP. These people are spontaneous, energetic, and enthusiastic. Life is never boring around them. For this personality type, I wanted to recommend Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. Most people know the story of Peter Pan. He's the boy who could never grow up. He's from Neverland. He comes to the window of Wendy Darling and her 2 little brothers, pretty much spirits them away to Neverland, and he shows them like the Lost Boys, there's pirates, there's a lot of like amazing stuff that happens. Full disclosure, the actual book, there's some problematic stuff in there because it's quite old, so just as a disclaimer, but yes, I wanted to recommend this one for the entertainers because I think Peter is just so spontaneous, so energetic. He is supposed to be the personification of the opposite of adulthood. So yes, if you're in the entertainer personality type, I think you'll really identify with Peter and his spontaneous nature. And yeah, that was the very last book. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you liked the book that I recommended for your personality type. Obviously, all of these recommendations are very much colored by my tastes and the books that I really love. And yeah, it was quite a challenge trying to find something that fit every single personality type. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what your personality types are down in the comments and any book recommendations you have. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.